the popular war reporter who's now a talking head at CNN, Christian Amanpour. You know, when you find a Buhari who could not pronounce his name correctly on Christian Amanpour, suddenly, you know that that's not small media narrative. But I or Sahara reporters never interviewed Buhari, never. In fact, the only thing that we did that made people to really feel that, wow, you guys are different, was that we announced the outcome of that election before INEC. And it was the first time that it happened in Nigeria's media history, that the outcome of an election accurately was reported by a media platform before the official announcement. And that was what prevented Jonathan and his people probably from rigging the election. And by the time INEC had not gotten to 12 states, Jonathan himself had considered the election to Buhari. How do you blame anybody for that? There's no reason to blame Sahara reporters for it. But you know, it is the narrative that Sahara reporters brought Buhari to power that I think is the media narrative that is well-funded now. And the reason is because I am their target. You know? And I take it with honor that I'm hated in equal capacity or measure by the APC and the PDP, equal measure, you know. And the reason is simple. I have been able to prove, or the platform Sahara reporter today has been able to prove, that it is an equal opportunity offender against the political class. Because the same thing we did against Yaradua at that time is the same thing we did against Jonathan. And it's the same thing we are doing now against the Buhari regime. If Buhari could ban Sahara reporters, he probably would have banned Sahara reporters before he banned Twitter. And I can tell you that part of the reason why they banned Twitter, if you count 10, Sahara reporters will be somewhere up, you know, on the ladder. So that's just to make the clarification.
Thank you.
That is very helpful. Thank you very much. Yes.
So much, Professor Moses Ochonu, for all your great questions and the answer. Before I call on the next speaker, let me follow up on the professor's question. So we have a situation in which the APC is not doing well. Everyone criticizes the Buhari regime on a daily basis. Prices of food have gone up and corruption is not down. So what do you think? Why is the APC still in control? Why does it have a grip on power with all these contradictions? Why is the PDP so weak that it cannot even be a good opposition party?
There is no, are you done with the question, Prof?
Yes. I'm done.
Yeah. If you look at it very well, these two political parties are two sides of the same coin. And that's why when Moses asked me the question about who will be the targets of the revolution, you know, I mentioned a particular group of persons or characters known as carpetbaggers. Carpetbaggers are people in a Nigerian context who will go to sleep as APC and they wake up as PDP. So, except we are going to accept the fallacy that APC is different ideologically or physically or in any form or shape or format from the PDP. There's no reason why, you know, PDP can oppose APC. It's not possible. It's just like asking for the lower jaw to be opposing the upper jaw. You know, they both have a job in chewing the cord. So it's just what it is. There's no difference, Professor, between APC and PDP. It's the guys who were in APC in 2015 that are now in PDP. It's the guys who were in PDP since 2019 that have all moved back to APC. So how can they oppose themselves? They're the same. I'm sure that the same people who wrote, I think it was the person who wrote PDP constitution that wrote the first constitution of the ACN. That's Professor Chibola Ige. So it's the same person. They have the same, if you look at their constitution, they have the same similarities and operational modus operandi. So there's nothing different, sir. There's no way these two political parties can oppose themselves. They are the same, one and the same. The only difference is the color of the flag.
Thank you very much. Before I call on our next speaker, I want to express our gratitude to 8 platforms that are streaming this. For those of us watching by this Zoom, at some point was 400 people, which is large, it's still a very large number. What we do is to use this Zoom to connect to various platforms. And 2 of the platforms have 4 million members. Usually they will send us, some of the platforms will send us the number of viewers, which is usually a lot. I am very grateful to them. Some of the platform owners are here. Tunde Kilani is here with us. We are on his platform, Mainframe, which is a large platform. I saw Musa Adedayo is also here, which is streaming this on live television to over 1 million people. So we are very grateful to them. We are grateful to African Briefings and other people that allow us to stream this conversation. It's my pleasure to invite Ms. Alaka, the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, the organization that does investigative reporting in the country. She's worked in various communication projects for social entrepreneurship, political development, advocacy for inclusive governance, facilitating collaborations among journalists. She's interested in girls and women mainstream issues, and she's developed a variety of strategies and curricula to promote many of these ideas. Welcome, Ms. Motunrayo Alaka. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tony Falola. And good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Good evening to you, Sowore, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. It's good to see you here. I want to commiserate with you first on the loss of your brother, Olajide. I know what it is like to lose a close family member. I've lost a mother, I've lost an elder sister, an immediate elder sister. I also know what it is when that loss is very close to systemic failure, and you can know that the loss was avoidable. And when you live your life in service to country, it can be even more painful to find that the same things that you're fighting for beat you. That's hard home. So I commiserate with you. And I appreciate you for making this meeting. I understand the commitment to humanity and commitment to common good that makes one, despite personal tragedy, show up for this kind of meeting. So thank you for that show of integrity and commitment to community. So my first question is, on earlier in the year, March 2nd, to be precise, you were at the court, and you were at the court with somebody in street parlance who called Juju Man, right behind you. And in the news, some people said this was Sowore's spiritual advisor. Some people said it was a Juju Man. You answered to say that on BBC Pidgin, you said that well, he was just a man who was, you know, a traditionalist who was showing his religion. But throughout the time you were in court, this man was positioned behind you. He seemed to have been making some incantations because he was murmuring all through and was positioned behind you. So what really was the game? Was it to create some drama, some comic relief? Was it just that a friend was showing solidarity?
Thank you. My answer is simple. I think Africans should stop explaining to anybody how they dress to anywhere. You know, Mahatma Gandhi, who is widely known as an activist, a peace activist from India, wore a sarong for most of his life, except when he was in South Africa and briefly in the UK. He didn't have to explain it to people. It was a culture. So if I go to court with an African dressed in African attire, whether it's positioned behind me or in front of me, whatever he carried, as long as an African and he's dressed in his attire, which is his choice, it's not a problem. And we shouldn't be defending that. It is part of the colonial, problem that we inherited, that we have to explain, we have to dress a certain way. And this is the way I explain it, right? But there's also another context to it. And the context is that same court I had been with the pastor before, it was not reported. I was accompanied. I didn't take the pastor. I was accompanied. The same court I was accompanied to by a Muslim cleric who had his turban all the way to the back of it. It wasn't reported, but the media, because in the same way they came and said everything we had is inferior. They asked us to throw some of them away, and then they took the rest, and they are all in their museums now. So we don't have to stretch this beyond what it is. Let's accept who we are as Africans, dress Africans, since we are not ashamed to wear suits. We shouldn't also be ashamed to wear cowrie shells and whatever we put on our clothes when we go out to any official engagement or unofficial engagement. But I'll say one last thing, which is the part that would be fun to you guys. It was when I went with the so-called spiritual advisor that I got the most relief from the judge. Even the things we didn't ask, the relief that lawyers didn't ask for, they were giving us, Mr. Sowore, oh, don't worry, don't do this. Or everybody that they said should stay in Abuja, they said you can go home. So maybe mentally too, it had an impact on the judge. I don't know. So it worked. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. I thought to start with something that made us laugh a bit. Also, my next question is about the issue of verification. The fact that Sahara Reporters, operates as a leaks platform, it has broken so many valid news that's helped to give people perspective to information that sometimes even legacy media is afraid to publish for various reasons. But do you find the need to, in the face of increasing misinformation and disinformation and the attacks on truth, do you find a need to more intentionally create a more solid system of verification for publications on the platform?
Can you repeat that? I lost part of your questions due to network, I think. Can you please repeat that?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I was saying that Sahara Reporters operates as a leaks platform, and it has broken a lot of news, a lot of valid news. It has given access to information that sometimes is not available on even legacy multimedia platforms for so many other reasons. However, in the face of growing misinformation and disinformation and attacks on truth, do you find a need to strengthen the verification process of the things that are published on that platform?
Let me answer it two ways. One is that every platform that's in existence must continue to improve or perish. So if you don't improve, especially in the face of the kind of fierce competition that's out there regarding how content is created, how news is churned out, how breaking news is out there, you're going to just fade out. It should be to the credit of how Sahara Reporters was conceived and operated over these years, that it has existed for 15 years as a major force in the news industry in Nigeria, or the content creation industry in Nigeria. And Moses Oshono is somewhere here. They helped me. They used to help me until I went to politics and didn't get directly involved in with Sahara Reporter. Secondly, you see, sometimes I get tired of people saying, "Oh, verify your news." And when you ask them which part of the news is not correct, they can't point it to you. They just have a problem with the context that Sahara Reporter presents as facts. They're not used to it. They are to get these facts, or why did you publish somebody's credit card, information, or why are you so audacious? That's what people question us mostly about. I think it's more about the methodology than it is of whether news is factual or not. I have said it repeatedly. If any news media in Nigeria needs to improve or stop fake news, it should start with NTA, the Nigerian Television Authority, because they're the one who tell you the news every evening that the economy is improving when the economy is not improving. They are the one who tells you that the president is well when he's not well. They are the one who tells you that Nigerians are happy when they are sad. So who gives you the first, who gives you fake news the most? Government platforms. The Ministry of Information misinforms people, misleads people. You can never get accurate information from any government platform. But they turn around and, just scandalize these platforms, including, I'm sure, your own, because they're not comfortable with the stories you're writing. There are several ways through which to challenge stories. I have been sued in the US 5 different times, accused initially of fake news. And when we got to court, the judges found out the stories were accurate. In fact, last week, about a month ago, a judge in Maryland, Sahara Reporter's lawyer, $7,000, because a man of God lied. He was spreading fake news, and it was Sahara that was right. The case is still in court. We haven't concluded it. But the moment he discovered that the US court is no longer willing to entertain his lies, he has come back to another judge in Akwa Ibom to restart the case where they have control over the back door. So what I'm telling you is that if these days, and this is for the news platforms that are on the internet in particular, blogs, what great news content in Nigeria, the biggest punishment you can get for doing fake news is not in government, it's not a law court, they're your readers. Readers and users and consumers of content are unforgiving if you tell them fake news, because they are the fact checkers themselves. And the moment you discover that you are not doing what you are pushing out information, you will lose credibility. You will completely lose credibility because they are forgiving, and they will keep reminding you screenshot, because the internet doesn't forgive. They are the ones regulating you, your consumers, the consumers of your content. So fake news has become government's own buzzword for suppressing the truth. So all they need to do is to say it is fake news. How can somebody like Lai Mohammed determine fake news when all he lives for is fake news? All he tells is fake news. Even his life, how can you be listening to such a person? Not to say, and I'll conclude there, that these things don't exist, but there's a difference between deliberate, fake news content production or mistakes. Occasionally, when you are dishing out over 40 stories a day, there's a possibility that you can misspell names, you may not get dates wrong, right, or documents, or photos that are used as illustration may not be exactly. Those ones are well known and it's industry standard issue. It has nothing to do with just fake news. But to just call every story you disagree with fake is not the same thing as problem of fake news. And we need to be very careful about that.
Thank you. So as at 31st of August this year, we had 84 million plus registered voters in the country. You contested in the last election, and you had 33,953 votes. What is the strategy that you have if you intend to run again in 2023, assuming you were running again in 2023? What strategy do you have to get the two-thirds majority or a good number of votes that pushes closer to that goal of being the president of the country?
The strategy is not to walk blindly into another alley of deceit. There was no election, and I said categorically to people that if getting votes counted and proper results released is what is called election, that process did not happen in 2019. Anybody who claims that an election happened in 2019 is not being honest. So the number that was allocated to me is not what I got in that election. If the election, a proper election had happened, in which myself, Kisimogalu, and other young candidates are allowed to debate Buhari and Atiku on the same platform, there's no way Nigerians will vote for them. It's not possible. That's just number one. The second aspect of it is what we did. I cannot speak for the other young candidates, but I can speak for myself. Traveling energetically to 34 states, bringing about a manifesto that they are even shamelessly stealing from, about how to revive the economy, security, health, agriculture, technology, how an economy can work, how to fight corruption, is how to create an inclusive country. There's nobody that could come near us in terms of those ideas. Are you telling me that Nigerians would not want to vote for me over Atiku and Buhari, except if the qualification to become president is if you have arthritis? You understand? You can't stand on your own. That's the only way those guys could have defeated me in an election. So there was no election. They have INEC there. INEC is a political party itself. It's not a neutral electoral body. And to now respect or be alluding to the fake results that they collated and allocated to Buhari and give some to Atiku as legitimate election is something that I reject. So what will be my strategy is a strategy of revolution now, that we must clean the space before we go for another election. If you go into another election, you're just going to become part of the statistics if you haven't dealt with the quality of people who are also going to run the electoral process, the quality of the constitution that is going to guide the entire process, the quality of the Nigerian judiciary that can adjudicate if there are disputes from elections, the quality of men and women that should even be allowed to contest for election. Look at the number of people in the National Assembly who don't even have certificates that are recommended by the Constitution before they can contest. And there's nothing done about it. So that's just a small example of this. But so many of them don't even know the constituencies they are representing. They have never been there before. They have not been there to contest for election. They didn't win party primaries. So at every level, everything is wrong with the political process. And that's why we're advocating for a total overhaul. That's why we're calling for a revolution regarding these issues, so that you don't end up again in 2023 asking me the same question. Now, how come you only had 45,000 votes? With this INEC, I don't even think we can have a chance we stand a chance at all, because the body has no credibility. It doesn't have the ability to deliver on the promises and and expectations of a democratic nation or democratic elections.
Thank you. I know that Ibiroke has not been able to join us, but there's just one part of the question that she had that we thought was important, which is about inclusion. I've watched some of your the campaigns videos, and I kind of see it's a lot of boys, like a boys' club, a lot of men there. And I know that elections are tough and you go from place to place. But what's your intentional plan to be inclusive of women? I mean, knowing that we are about half the population in the shifts that you propose.
Let me ask, that I'm ashamed of myself that throughout the period of the election in 2018, we tried everything we can to, find a lot of female political participants, and we failed miserably in ensuring that we measure up to even our own promise to have a 50-50 cabinet of men and women had we won the election. But to be honest with you, Nigeria is still 100% a man's world. And I think women are not helping. And this is to our women folks who are here and those who are watching me. They're not helping by not asserting themselves. How can you be 50% of Nigeria's population and you are doing press conference all the time? Allocate some slot to us now. Ejo now, please give us some slot. Give us some slot. You have the population. Maybe it's time for women to just have a secret meeting and say, look, we are going to vote for a woman in the next election as president. And the person will win. If all the women just agree in Nigeria to vote for a woman, men are gone. Women, cabinets, and all of us will be begging you to be your PAs and be carrying your bag instead of you just like, oh, sorry, just give us some allocation. I think there needs to be, for me, just beyond words, some very conscious effort by women using their power, using their numbers in this country to just demolish the wall of discrimination and oppression of women. This country is an oppressive state in general, but it's particularly wickedly oppressive of women. That's the truth. It is written in the Constitution that we hate women. You understand? Because we have to write it in the Constitution that women are entitled to certain things. But we don't have a place in the Constitution where we say men are entitled to this number of slots. We have a women affairs ministry in Nigeria. I'm still looking for the man affairs ministry because we don't have respect for women. Otherwise, to create, to tell you how much we don't respect women, we created a ministry for them because we consider women as not on par with us. You have to have that revolution too. But before you go and start begging, when begging for inclusion, don't forget the powerful roles women played in this country too. the 1929 Aba riots, you know that it was staged by women and it had far-reaching impact. And there are several historical interventions by women. You know, as you see, as I'm here talking to you, in this revolution movement, I'm just hoping that women can just turn our way. We have a lot of female participants in revolution now, but we are nowhere near where we should be. And we believe that the moment women get involved in any liberation movement, it is over for the oppressor, for the oppressors. And I hope they're hearing me loud and clear, you know. So, but had we won, we would have gone and done something almost unheard of. That is creating a parliament, an executive body that has 50% of women, 50% of men on board. And we can take it from there because that's by appointment. But women need to just step out. Don't let men keep covering you up, either in clothes or in a garb or religion, or we're superior to you, or physically, emotionally you. You know, if men beat you up, go and exercise too and beat them up. You know, this is enough. The abuse, the oppression and suppression of women, in my view, has gotten to a level that we should just be ashamed of even being called men, because, it's just sad what I see in this country, how we treat the rights of women. But we are not supposed to be saying, oh, we give you your rights. You are supposed to take it too, because you have the numbers. How can you be 50% in the country and you are registered voters and you keep voting for failed men? Is it not possible that you have women who are better than all these, failed characters running the country? I'm sure there are. So it is time for women to just rise. It's time for a women revolution in the country. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'll join you if you lead. If you don't lead, join me. Let's work together.
Thank you. Finally, for me, when you're not calling for a revolution, protesting or calling out government, for one reason or the other, what do you like to do? What do these things say about what you value the most?
Oh, the other things I like to do are things that, would have mattered in a country, in a society that would encompass all the great things that a revolution would bring about. My idea or our idea of a revolution, because I happen to have lived, of course, outside of the shores of Nigeria, and I used to do other things. I used to love running, for instance. But for you to even wake up and run in Nigeria, you have to understand that there are no sidewalks. But there are sidewalks and bicycles that bicycles and runners can use and walkers can use in Ghana, Accra here. Just things that you can do, simple things you can do. But you know what I would have loved to do had this not been my country? I mean, Nigeria hadn't taken a lot of my time just fighting all the time. I would just love to be a teacher, which was what my dad was. And I spent 10 years as a university teacher in the US, just teaching post-colonial Africa history. I'd have loved to be like Professor Twain Falala, writing books, in just reading and doing a lot of physical exercises, swimming, and I should say something too, which is just to brag a bit, because I rarely get a chance to do this. Is that I'm an entrepreneur too, not the capitalistic, mad entrepreneurship, but I actually created a product that is thriving in the market, in the market of ideas. The platform Sahara Reporters was created by my person. So, and if I was lucky to be in a country where things work, probably that's also a big deal, right? To have a thriving media business that is innovative, creative, and competitive, it's a big deal. Like I could be sitting just expanding these platforms and creating products and content that could drive it to reach more people and to impact more lives. But here I am with all of this master's degree, living in the diaspora for 20 years. I'm back to going to prison every week, getting my nose broken, getting shot at by police, and getting my brother killed, just casual like that. That's tough.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ms. Motunrayo Alaka, we are very, very grateful. Thank you. Well, September 19, we'll be bringing Professor Molefi Ashanti, the preeminent figure in the study of Afrocentricity. And then in October, we have 3 people, Deli Mamadou, who also you ran, I think. We have the Alafin of Oyo, who is coming, the second king we're inviting. And then we're talking about survival of languages, bringing Musa Adebayo. Thank you very much. People usually say, now is the audience part. Just indicate by raising your hand if you want to make a comment or ask questions. The way this works is the video of our guest has disappeared. Hopefully it will come back shortly. We normally will take 2 questions that were sent to us because these questions are so many and we don't have time to take them. And when we have many people who want to talk, sometimes we appeal to them that we cannot take all of them. Let's wait for the video of Mr. Sowore to be back because I think he's having some challenges there. Can you hear us, Mr. Sowore?
I can hear you, sir.
The video is
I can hear you loud and clear.
Video is back. So, Shegun Olopade, tell me when you are ready.
Back.
Yes. Tell me when you are ready to take questions that were sent to us. Meanwhile, let me call.
My video is back.
Yes, I can see you. Goke Odujole. If I don't pronounce your name very well, you have to forgive me. Mr. Goke Odujole. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, I just unmuted. Thank you very much, Professor Falola. Sowore, thank you for standing in the gap for what so many of us don't have the opportunity to do. I think, especially those of us that went to Akoka, we have that vibes. And also you were in Minneapolis, so I met you in 2018, and we had a bit of chat. My question to you will be this. Looking at the enormity of the Nigeria situation, how difficult it is to contest at the national level, will you consider perhaps going for a lower office, maybe at the state level, to try to create the kind of ideas that you will have loved at the national stage? I don't know if a lot of people have spoken to you about this, because one would really like the kind of things you're propagating to be actualized. I don't want a situation where we will look at you in several years and many people will look at history and says, Sowore is the kind of the best president Nigeria never had. Is there a way for you to which you think of going a little bit lower level to state level, bring up the good ideas to which people can see you at more on the national stage and embrace those things you stand for and want Nigerians to experience? That's all I got.
Am I allowed to answer the question? All right.
Yes, please go ahead and answer the
Prof,
question.
am I ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, I appreciate your question. My question to you, though, and this is first time during this conversation that I'll be asking a question from someone who's asking me a question. If you were to choose between the Sowore that graduated from Unilag that you probably heard about or met before, and a Buhari running Nigeria, which would you go for?
That's an obvious question. You know what my answers would be on that.
Okay, so why would we be settling for mediocrity year in, year out? If you trust me enough to run Nigeria better than the characters that are arrayed against us now, why should we then lower our standards by carrying a nuclear bomb to a gunfight? Why do I say that? States can be taken care of by people who have state aspirations. Federal government and the presidency of Nigeria is serious business. And it needs people who have energy, who have intellect, who have people who have the ability to make powerful decisions, big decisions. And that is what Nigeria needs. And that is where we must go next. We can't continue asking Sowore to go to State House of Assembly or the Senate and the National Assembly and asking Atiku to go to the presidency. And when he gets to the presidency, you're now saying, oh my God, we are best friends. Another question I have for you. If you are invited to the World Cup today, would you ask Odegbami to go and represent Nigeria? Definitely no. Even though you like him, you like his name. But his skill sets, his age, his physical fitness, his mathematics of those days, his trigonometry in football is different from today's innovative way of solving mathematical problems. So there's no need to even drag this question further. It is that Nigeria must face the reality of going with the old failed past by limiting ourselves to just people who can win elections and not people who can run Nigeria.
Thank you.
That's the way I ask the question.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tunde AA. Tunde AA. Unmute yourself, please.
Tunde AA.
He's talking, but we can't hear him.
Maybe he's not been unmuted by your tech.
AA. He may unmute yourself at your end. Tunde AA.
I've completely lost a sense of lost contact. I'm not hearing anything, guys. If you can hear me, let me know. I'm not hearing anybody.
It's Tunde AA we are waiting for.
Okay.
Can we move on to Baba Aye?
Okay, I was just unmuted now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Omoyele Sowore, and I'm glad to be seeing you for the first time. I voted for you in 2019. I voted for you in 2019 because I've actually been reading up so many things you've been saying in the past. I knew your position on electronic media, on print media. I knew your position, on cryptocurrency currently. I knew your position on so many things that generates public wealth and all that. So, and I see how many of those things play out. I've seen what has happened with cryptocurrency and the positions of MasterCard, Visa, and all of them today. So, follow you specifically because of those progresses. I mean, it's very important for me for someone to say something 3 years ago, and then you see those things being, executed by multinationals, big companies of the world. That's very, very important to me. Now, my questions I'm going to ask you, number one, is that, Sowore, the people that take over after a revolution, they are more important than the revolution. There was a revolution. We can say what happened in South Africa, in Rwanda, our revolutions. What happened in Libya and Egypt, our revolutions. But Libya had a revolution, and what you have in that country today is something else. Rwanda had something close to a revolution in '94, and the country is better off for it. Now, when you have what we had in 1999, and then the emergence of democratic dispensation was closest to a revolution. How do we do it in such a way that not just democracy takes over, but pro-people politicians, people who really want the best for the people who want to create public wealth and create prosperity for the people? That's the first question. The second question I'm going to be talking about is that when elections are coming very close, Sowore, many times people keep quiet. The real people that should vote out criminals out of government don't come out of their houses on election day. Most of the people you see, and that's why they always win, are the people that are going to collect 5,000 and 6,000 naira. How do you think Nigeria should change this very narrative? Because it's been, and anytime you want to have a situation where genuine people really want to vote out, thugs show up in those places and scatter everything. It still happened in 2019, when genuine people that really should vote out crooks show up at the election ballot point, they end up getting pushed out by thugs. How do we fix this? In some states, like we saw in maybe like Edo State and things like that, people stayed on their votes overnight. They refused to go home. They wanted those votes to be counted in their presence, and they made sure that it was done. How do we end up fixing this narrative in such a way that we can have a better country for ourselves? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tunde. We're very grateful. Let me take that as a comment to save some time. It's a good comment. We're very grateful. Baba Aye, please move forward, please. Baba Aye. Unmute him, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I want to chip in on one or two things. First, with Moses pointing at the issue of revolution now, it is very important to stress that this was not something that started with Yele Sowore or the Coalition for Revolution. We should take our mind back to 1948, the call for revolution of the Zikist National Vanguard. It represented the highlight of genuine struggle for liberation, not just decolonization as the transfer of power from some foreign colonial elites to local oppressors. So it's important to stress this, that the call for revolution, and calling for revolution in a sense that puts it at the center of radical politics, is actually has a long history in the country, which the likes of Yele, which CORE, which AAC has to. This is a very important point to note. And we realized that what we got was at best quasi-liberation in 1960. And that is why the charter of the Coalition for Revolution is Charter for Total Liberation. And talking of the charter, I think Yele sold himself short, although I appreciate the fact he did say that, look, we failed with regards to women and participation in the party, in the movement. But why I said he sold himself short on this is, during the internal debate, which took several months on the charter and the Coalition for Revolution, Yele was one of the leading persons in pushing for women's rights, pointing out the centrality of women liberation, and even also arguing for the inclusion of the rights of sexual minorities, the defense of sexual orientation. And this is something that on the Nigerian left, you even see several people that would declare themselves revolutionaries wouldn't be bold enough to stand up, for sexual minorities as part of the questions of, as part of gender equity. I think this is very important. And finally, the juxtaposition of participation in partisan politics, electoral politics, and revolution. I think in a sense, one, it is artificial for any change-seeking party. As Lucy Parsons, who in her own right was a revolutionary and wife of one of the A-market martyrs, pointed out that, look, we should not be deceived. The elite will not let us vote away their wealth and their power. And someone else said that, look, if elections will change the system, the ruling class would make it illegal. So we should learn, even if it is from IBB said something, said we are not only in office, we are in power. Any revolutionary party that comes to power comes to government strictly on the basis of electoral victory is fooling itself. It will at best be in office, but not in power. And that is the essence of what AAC as a driving force of core is doing, which is building, revolutionary democratic struggles, working class and youth power from below. Thank you.
Let's take that as a comment and move on to Adegbayi. Adegbayi, please. Adegbayi. Adegbayi, are you there? Please. Hello, Mr. Adegbayi, where are you? Unmute yourself, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm calling from the US. I think the last speaker just spoke exactly what I was about to say. If you are a revolutionary and you want to play partisan politics as it is in Nigeria, it's like you are doing the same thing that Babangida, Salami did. You want to Maradona everybody. And also, I would also like to say that revolutionary, as you define it, is similar to what every other people, like those who are clamoring for self-determination and all of them, are saying. Yes, indeed. But the difference between them and you is they are saying they want to boycott partisan politics as it is in the same faulty constitution. You were saying something that the constitution that we are using is fraudulent and everything, but you want to participate in the same political process defined by that faulty constitution. It means that you are not being honest to yourself.
Okay.
Mr.
Adegbayi,
you got it as a comment as well.
To answer this question, we will not treat this as a comment, we'll treat it as a major question.
Okay.
Mr. Sowore, this is a serious question.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything I've said tonight and anything I've done since the end of 2019 or our party, our movement have done that is not in alignment with what Mr. Adegbayi is saying. It's the same position we're maintaining, that we're not comfortable with going forward with another election under a faulty constitution. I was the first candidate probably the only candidate in 2019 that said the 1999 Constitution was fraudulent. I didn't mince words. I was the first candidate, and probably the only candidate that called for the abolition of bicameral legislative system. In fact, you could hear it everywhere. Me being quoted that I said the Senate has become the house of thieves, the Nigerian Senate, and that we don't need more than one, a unicameral legislative system. There are several other ideas and pronouncements I made that is in tandem with what our brother is saying. I am not disagreeing with you. And there's my submission, probably which you got wrongly, is that I want to be part of the system going forward. I said I don't want to be part of the statistics of election again, except the system is totally upturned. This fraudulent, criminal, organized deception of their people is totally, abandoned because it has become discredited. So I don't see how we disagree, brother. The person who spoke before you, Baba Aye, is the spiritual leader of our coalition for revolution. Now you're hearing that I have a spiritual leader because I know Baba Aye for since when I entered the University of Lagos, when I was admitted as a freshman into the University of Lagos in 1989. That's since when I knew Baba Aye. So we are not disagreeing at all. I don't see. I completely agree with you 100%, and that's the position of our party. Maybe where you got it wrong was that we have a political party, and I've explained that to say, look, the ANC was a political party that did not necessarily participate. It was a fighting party, and that's what AAC is. That's what Revolution Now. Revolution Now, and TIB, which is a movement that we created even before the political party AAC. So we speak the same. We're speaking the same language. Maybe my voice is not as loud.
Thank you, sir. Olushola Joel. Olushola Joel.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to bring to the knowledge of the platform here about the issue of individual terrorism and state terrorism. In the light of what we have witnessed in Nigeria, terrorism by the states is just the same thing. It's being played out exactly as corruption is being played out. When we had here about 20 million is stolen, then the next thing we hear about 1 billion. If you recall, starting from the assassination of Delegiwa, there has not been any time, that, hello? Yeah, there has not been any conclusive investigative reports, that really bring people down to justice. The same thing happens in a country like Sankara, that Blaise Compaoré is being tried today. It's a leap. I want to know whether Mr. Sowore will be able to put some of this issue of state terrorism in the manifesto, because making people to be accountable for what they are doing, either opposition or the state in power, will really make the citizens, to have boldness to be in support. But when you can do you can just kill. We heard of a student that was killed just about 2 weeks ago at LASU. This thing has been continuing. But when individual commit a simple or a small offense against the state, they tried, and even the citizens, you know. So I really want, I'm really in agony in my heart, you know, because we are talking of S-men, we are talking of terrorism, we are talking of Boko Haram, but I look at it, you know, as a political machination being played out day by day, you know. Some people are manipulating some things and everything. I don't know whether either the ruling class or the opposition party. That's my question. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's treat that as a comment. Dr. Fagunwa, your turn, please. Temitope Fagunwa. Temitope Fagunwa.
Yes, Prof. Can I be heard?
Yes, please go ahead.
Apologies, Prof. I won't be able to turn on my video because of the network. Prof, firstly, want to thank you for this consistency, and I also want to send solidarity greetings to Comrade Sowore, and also to send our condolences over the loss of our brother, Brother Olajide. Comrade, I quickly want to use this opportunity to say that the discussion so far, have been extremely interesting, and I think that it should be a challenge to the vast majority of our people that are online, that are in attendance, because more often than not, as some of the questions have been put across, by the way, this is just a comment, around some of the questions that have been attended to seems to suggest that can radically, single-handedly, transform this country. I've had comments such as, continue the struggle, we are supporting you, we are at your back, and all of that. Material point in time, it is relevant for the vast majority of Nigerian people to understand that this is not an, you have a terrible state at this material point in time that is really not our collective properties, but also threatening our lives, and the last brother that spoke had just, is because we have been told also that, terrorists can, you can have terrorists as groups, you can have terrorists as individuals, but the point must also be made clearly known that the Nigerian state, as it is at this material point in time, is also, a terrorist organization. Because we are talking about a government, that currently came up with, they came up with that will be spending 92%, of our budget, to service this country. So what else can we really understand, from all of this analysis of the fact that this government, this state is threatening. We must understand that that perspective from the point of view of what needed to be done. And I want to, on a concluding note, state that the question around revolution is extremely important. And I think there is a necessity for us to bring more clarity into it. There can be several variances of revolution, but ultimately, when we talk about revolution, we are talking about, a systemic change must be consistently made, and this system we are talking about is one that would allow the vast wealth of this country to be in the people's hands. We are talking about a socialist revolution, and for some of us, we are not, trying to hold back on the basis of what shape this revolution is going to take, or what measure is going to bring about it, or what measure is going to, bring about this. It can take. We are not trying to be different. We are not about it. The vast majority of our people understand this. They say this. The current Nigerian state, those that are involved, members of the ruling class, will not relinquish power without a struggle. And this struggle can take. It has been exposed. The current electoral system of this country is nothing but a fraud. You have a scenario wherein even the INEC, not even the INEC chairperson, cannot even come out clearly, to distinguish from the existing political, structure, the existing political, party.
Dr. Fagwa, we have to thank. Thank you for your comments, Dr. Fagwa. Let's take it as a comment. Professor Mwokeji, thank you, Dr. Fagwa. Mwokeji. Can you please unmute him? He's talking, but we can't hear him.
Thank you very much, Professor Falola. I'm glad, Yele, when you addressed the question of elections in 2023 and touched upon the fact that it would be fruitless to hold the election in 2023 under the present conditions. And this is what my frustration has been with people. When I discuss 2020, when I discuss Nigerian issue, and they say, oh, we're going to have an election in 2023, Buhari will go and all that. Whether Buhari goes or does not go, as long as they have this stranglehold around the INEC to predetermine that election, there's no point holding it. Now, you've pointed that fact out. Now, how is it to be done? How is it going to be? How can we ensure that the election, is not held under the present circumstances? See, that is basically the issue here, because
okay, G, let me ask you a question, an historian.
Yes.
So human beings suffer for centuries. So the Atlantic slave trade, people suffer for 500 years. Even the biblical story of the mythology of the Israeli under the pharaohs, they suffer for a long time. So why do you think we always think that Nigerians will not suffer for centuries?
That is a good question. I have to say that the fact that people suffered for 500 years, either in the Old Testament, during slavery, or whatever, does not mean that it has to happen in our time. And another thing to put it in context too, change used to take a long time before it happens. It happened. But in the present age, as we get closer to our present age, change has happened more frequently. So that it took, how many years did it take the world to get to the Industrial Revolution? Millennia. Millennia.
Just hold your thought there.
Yes.
I like the question that Professor Falola asked, and I wanted to just interject there. That you mentioned the mythology of the Israelites and Pharaoh, but also in that mythology, there were certain objective conditions that were given for the suffering to end in 40 days. Mm-hmm. But the Israelites refused to meet those conditions, and as a result, they prolonged their suffering for 40 years. And I see a parallel between us and that mythology, that mythological story. So with the revolution, we can end our suffering in a year. But without it, we can suffer for another century. Why? As if elections are held under the conditions that we're in now, and the way Nigerians are conditioned, they're going to bring in one of them again that will rule for another 8 years, minimum, right? And in 8 years, you and I will not be in the form that we're in today. And we will not probably be in the generation that will be clamoring for change. And they will be clamoring for the same thing we are clamoring for today. And people will tell them when they complain that, why don't you wait for the election to happen? And then before you know it has become 16 years. So I think it's to look at those conditions and be realistic and honest about what is it can get us to the promised land in 40 days, and what is it that can take us to the promised land in 40 years.
Let me ask to Professor Wokeji. I need to call Dr. Enna. Thank you so much.
I think I see Rudolph up there, and he's not taking calls.
Dr. Enna. Dr. Enna, are you there?
Prof, I see a guy up there that you have been skipping. His name is Rudolph.
Now, Rudolph.
On mute.
I'm just looking at the fingers.
Yes, Rudolph put up his finger. Rudolph Okonkwo is like.
Don't ask your question.
Okay, thank you for having me. I commiserate with Omoyele Sowore on the death of his brother, and I thank him for his effort thus far on the issue of Nigeria. But I have a big issue. I do not believe in revolution. Revolutions have not worked in Egypt. Egypt has returned to status quo. Revolution has not worked in Libya. Libya is in dire strait, and revolution will not work in Nigeria. What worked in the United Arab Emirates that they transmuted from an oil and gas economy to a tourism-based economy was an evolution. What Nigeria needs is an economic evolution. And I want to say that COVID-19 epidemic is irrefutable proof that the world is now a global village. And if you see the happenstance in Afghanistan, it tells you there's a micro internal issue to politics and economics, and there's a micro. And putting that into perspective, Nigeria currently owes about $83 billion of debt. Of this, about $3 billion is to external funders, big nations like China, and locally about 50 billion. The discourse should not be on power. Even if Omoyele Sowore becomes president today, he does not have the capacity to pay Nigerians' debt ab initio. And he will need to still go back to the table to discuss with these macro lenders. So the big question I have to Omoyele Sowore today is, one, Nigeria owes $83 billion. How are you going to pay this? Two, I do not believe in revolution. It can never work because United Arab Emirates, the GDP per capita of United Arab Emirates is about $43,000. The GDP per capita of Norway is about $75,000. The GDP per capita of Nigeria is about $2,300. These countries I've mentioned with a good economy, none of them gone through a revolution. And what am I substantiating this with? Section 14, subsection 2B of Nigeria's 99 Constitution says, the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary concern of government. You can only achieve this with economic prosperity. So, one, APC can be defeated like APC defeated PDP, because there's a maxim in the United States which says, oppositions do not win elections, incumbents lose. One, we should let Buhari complete his tenure because the constitution says it's a single term for 4 years. So I say no to revolution. But I say yes to an economic evolution. Omoyele Sowore, thank you for your efforts. How would you pay Nigerians' debt? One, that's the big question to you this day. Then two, if you say pro-people, I am not pro-people. I am pro-investment. Nigeria is not a socialist economy. Dangote is the richest man in Nigeria today. He's a capitalist. So Nigeria is a capitalist economy. So hinge upon that. What is your pro-investment proposal for Nigeria? Thank you.
Let's take those as questions.
Yes. You are starting from a premise that I have fundamental agreement with. You are putting a constitution that was made by military opposers. It's not legitimate. Let's start from there. Our problem is not payments of our loans. It is about people who borrowed the money and what they did with it in the first place. Countries that are doing well do not ask for our kind of revolution. It is countries that have tyrannical leaders, who have oppressive leaders, who have corrupt leaders, who have people who have disregard for technology, progress, innovation, even enterprises that needs revolution. Nigeria cannot evolve. It cannot evolve out of a cul-de-sac. You are asking for movement in a country that is perpetually in a state of motion. It's not going to happen until you resolve the problem of those who are the wheels. Now, let's go to the question of your loans repayment, which if I don't answer, you will say, I am not an economist and cannot solve Nigeria's problem. The question is, who did you borrow the money from? China, right? What did they do with it? There's nowhere in the world where people lend you money without conditions. There's nowhere in the world where you also borrow without understanding the conditions under which you borrowed. And if these things are happening, there is what they call a debt to GDP ratio. That is how much of your GDP goes into debt, servicing and repayment. Nigeria is at almost 90-something% at this point. So that's not going to work. We can't repay back our loan, except, and what we do, which is acceptable internationally, which is not rocket science, is if you cannot pay back your loans because the guys who took back the loans were not competent enough and may not have looked at the fine print of the loans you take, you can go back to the people from whom you took the loan. That we have a problem. We need a moratorium. And Turkey, the president of Turkey, came into office meeting the kind of condition that Nigeria is now, loan-wise. How was it that he was able to pay back the loans? It was because he went into conversation immediately and said, look, we can't pay back these loans, otherwise our economy will collapse. This is how we want to revitalize our economy. And when we finish revitalizing, you get back your loan. But we are not going to pay you the way you gave it to us because that arrangement was also fraudulent. These conversations can happen at an international level. It happened between Argentina and the IMF before. It happened between Brazil and the IMF before. So nobody should come and tell me that our only problem is loan. No, I'm not accusing you of anything, Dr. Enna. But I'm just saying that you can't lump the legality of Nigerian constitution. You can't lump the issues and features that is keeping Nigeria the way it is now, almost collapsing, together with how Nigeria is not pro-people. And that, Dangote became a billionaire because he made investment. Where did he make the investments? Which investment are you talking about? Dangote that built a refinery that is going to collapse his company and got Nigeria, the Nigerian government, the people's money. You are not pro-people, but when your refinery business is collapsing, you want the people's money, $2.5 billion invested into Dangote's failing refinery. But you don't want to invest $2.5 billion into education because you are not pro-people. You don't have a problem giving people's money for individuals to become billionaires and be riding jets, but you have a problem with having pro-people policies that will create people who can build Nigeria out of poverty in the future by investment in education, in health. All these countries we are talking about where I've lived in the last 20 years, in the US in particular, they don't tell you that they are not pro-people, they are pro-investment. This is like, I just see your strategy as talking about.
Sowore, can I come on?
No,
Sowore,
please. What I normally do after the interview, I link the two of you together and you can continue the conversation.
I have an important point on ANC. ANC defeated apartheid. Jacob Zuma is in prison. Okay. Nigerians supported ANC and we became the victims of xenophobic attacks. Omoyele Sowore, Julius Malema was the youth leader of ANC. He was pathetic, he was patriotic of South Africa. As I speak to you, he has created his own party called EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters. Omoyele Sowore, I put it to you this day on this platform. The issues we should be speaking considering Nigeria should and must be economic, and it should be numbers. We're in the data age. data is the new oil. If we continue to bastardize people and say the military is bad, Dangote did that. Dangote is Nigeria's most global brand. We must promote it. The military was bad, we pushed them out. Nadeco was bad. Nadeco was bad. Asiwaju Tinubu was a Nadeco member. Today is bad. The politicians are bad. We can't keep replacing people. Let's build the economy. Once we build the economy, Nigerians will be rich. Once we build the economy, Nigeria will become like Norway. Norway
let's not monopolize conversation here. But when you are making these comparisons, I don't want you to run away with the opportunity to confuse people. No. You see, I'm glad you mentioned South Africa sending Zuma to jail. When are we sending Jonathan to jail for committing the same amount of crime or even more than what Zuma did? We are talking about Malema, creating a party. Malema can insult Zuma. You saw it in the parliament. Insult the president of South Africa at the parliament. He can insult them on the pages of newspaper. He can get on any radio station, any TV station, including SABC, to insult the president. When I called for a revolution and just mentioned the name of Buhari on Arise TV, I was detained for 5 months, right? And tried and brought before a court for an offense insulting the president. There is no offense there's no way South Africa will allow that to happen. So you are
insulting the president will not put food. Insulting the president will not put food. Insulting the president will not put food. Insulting the president will not put food on the table of Nigeria. Black South Africans are suffering. ANC came into power and defeated apartheid. They've not improved the lot of the black man. I put it to you this day without.
So which one do we believe of your position? You are jumping from South Africa is good. This guy is good. And then the next moment when we catch you, you jump into another place.
Let me
have a one-on-one instead of monopolizing.
ANC was a failure. We need to think of how we put food on the table of Nigerians. Section 14, Section 2B says the security and the welfare of the people. How can we put food on the market? If you demarket Dangote, who will buy Dangote?
Our criminals. When we can't jail our criminals, we can't put wait, calm down.
Criminals in America.
Yes, we can't put food on our table when the money made for food is invested in a fraudulent private refinery, $2.5 billion. You can't do that.
Dangote is a global brand. You are demarketing Dangote. Sowore, Sahara Reporters is a global brand. I will not demarket Nigeria. I will not demarket Sahara Reporters.
We are telling you that the food meant for the people is being diverted into private pockets. That's the marketing now. This propaganda cannot work, my brother. When we catch you on one, you jump to another one. What is the meaning of the marketing?
You've made your point.
Is Dangote equivalent to Nigeria? What is the meaning of the marketing Dangote?
You've made your point. Thank you. Professor Tunji Olaopa. Professor Tunji Olaopa. Please unmute him. Tunji Olaopa. Yes, sir. Unmute him. He's talking, but we can't hear him.
Go ahead. You're hearing me now? Yes, sir. Thank you, Professor Falola. And Omoyele, accept my heartfelt condolences for the loss of your brother. And thank you immensely for taking such a huge historical risk on behalf of the future Nigeria. That said, I'd like to just offer a comment. And this comment is inspired by some earlier comments that you made and how you hugely impressed me on your deep knowledge of the dynamics of revolution that has shaped world history. But that said, revolutionary conversation in Nigeria had always been confounding for me as a political scientist. And I like to say that in my student days as a unionist, I had occasion to moderate Comrade Olaoni, Dr. Tai Shulari, Gani Fayemi, Ayodele Awojo, Bala Usman, and I can go on and on. My impression in those days, the Mazian option was very convincing and engaging. But today, some of the talks about a revolution for me raises two methodological issues. The first, which you are not guilty of, that's passion without knowledge. You are hugely knowledgeable, but I see a conceptual reality gap here. Like Professor Omoyele said, revolutionary theory of change is great at the level of rhetoric, but as an agenda of change, it certainly is more demanding and requires some bit of rejigging up at the level of your practice and your approaches. And here I reference VI Lenin tactics that fruitioned the Russian Revolution. The huge game plan and the coalition of change and a bit of the Machiavellian that he deployed that saw him indeed leveraging on the wealth of even capitalists to realize what he. So revolution will not just happen because we wish for it. The opposition to revolution is too huge and powerful for a social media propelled conversation to shift the generality of Nigeria from being agnostic about this conversation. It requires game plan, it requires coalition. I'm impressed with the answers and the positive signals that it gives. I believe that you must begin to rethink the need for some bit of networking, even if it's a dotted line networking, with the advocates of restructuring, self-determination, and some culprits, even within the current arrangements. Given Nigerian complexity, you might need all of this at some level of conversation to create a viable structure that really can engage the depth of complexity that the entrenched interest has built that stand in the way of revolution. Sincerely, I don't want us to remember Sowore as one radical revolutionary, advocate that we heard of, but that merely, wet us, entertained us. I think we need to get to some level of planning and basics and deep conversation to make this struggle and movement concrete. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me take that as a comment and call Rudolph Okonkwo. Rudolph Okonkwo, please. Thank you, Professor Laupa. Rudolph.
Okay. Sowore, my condolences. On Thursday, I will start teaching your former class at the School of Visual Arts, your former school where you were teaching. I will teach them about Bobi Wine, Julius Malema, and I will mention you. And three of you will be in the category of people trying to change Africa. You are very familiar about the political, post-colonial African history that you taught and you introduced me to the school. I want to know, hopefully I'll be able to get you to talk to the students, but I want to know what you will want me to say to these students about your mission to Nigeria, why you left America to go to Nigeria, what you went there to fight for, and how it connects to what Bobi Wine and Julius Malema are trying to do in Uganda and in South Africa. The second question I want you to answer is that I've been following all your interviews and all the conversations you've been having. There's one question that people ask you that I'm not satisfied with the answer you've been giving. And it's about people who are tired of Nigeria, to the point that they said, we don't want to be part of it. We want to leave. I'm talking about people like Sunday Boho, people like Nnamdi Kanu. And you've been given the answer that if they leave, that the bad people that destroyed Nigeria will essentially be in their new enclaves. And because of that, they shouldn't leave. Is that satisfactory enough to you? And how do you see the way I see Nigeria? I see Nigeria as a project, the projects, government buildings we have here, or council flats in Europe. Everybody is in that tall building, living there. It's not working, it's in disrepair, Wouldn't you think that it's possible that if Nigeria is, based on the ideas of these people, people are brought down from that building, that tall, big building that a lot of people are there, and given small buildings around, that some people will make it on their own, that it might be easier that way. Why do we dismiss that option? And this is what somebody said to me the other day, that Nnamdi Kanu is locked up now. Sunday Boho is out of commission. And he said to me, you people who are against these people, they are not there anymore. You've been saying that they are the reason why you can achieve what you wanted to achieve. Go and achieve it now. They are not active. They are locked up. Go and achieve it. What do you say to these people?
Well, thank you, Rudolph. Yes, they're very interesting questions. And thank you for keeping my class. When I get back, you are going to lose that position. So you should be looking for another job at the gas station where you used to work. So your first question is very interesting, but I want to say it this way. When I got the job to teach post-colonial Africa history, I had not gotten to this level of controversial life, and you and I have known each other for a long time, and we discuss all the time over food, and we joke a lot, design a lot of shows together, we wrote stories, and what I found out when I was teaching and when I read the text of each of these post-colonial activists or militants or revolutionaries is that whatever you are reading or teaching is a fine print of the outcome of whatever the historian or the writer is. I can't even advise you to teach me yet to your class. It will be unjust to the class because I'm yet to completely, fully unravel. Maybe it would be better to teach. Maybe it's not even your job to teach what I came to Nigeria to do, because honestly, a lot of these things happen not because they're planned as they eventually happen, but there's some level of planning involved, secrets involved behind them. So I wouldn't say more than that. I don't think it's time yet to teach Sowore as an African.
It's having some internet problems there. While waiting for his internet to get back, thank you, Dr. Kumpo. Ola Itankoka, can you please make your comments? This is being recorded, so you can listen to it after so that we save some time. Ola Itankoka.
Yes, good evening, Professor.
Go ahead.
Yes, please. My comment is, I want to first appreciate Mr. Sowore. I've been following him for quite a while. Right from when he was University of Lagos and all through his career, Sahara Reporters and everything. He's done a fantastic job. But what does he see about the real issue in Nigeria, which is the defective structure of the country. You know, no matter what happens, if the structure of the country remains the way it is, nobody will be able to make any sense of it. And these are things that people like Awolowo, you know, spoke about. I read some of Awolowo's books, and you could see that Awolowo was hinting at it, that there was a problem in the way the country was structured. There's a problem with a certain section of the country thinking that the country is their right to rule. And everything seems to be tailored towards emphasizing that paradigm. So what would Mr. Sowore, what does he think? Because I don't think Nigeria, to be honest, is a viable entity as it is. It cannot work, really, with the way it is right now. It's impossible. So, I mean, the revolution, will it be a revolution like Oka, you know, that tried to excise some parts of the country from it? Or how is he going to do it? How is he going to pull this off? If peradventure now the revolution works, it gets into power. What exactly, how are you going to go about it? What are going to be your first steps to correcting the anomaly that is called Nigeria right now? Thank you.
Thank you. Damilare Durosimi. Damilare Durosimi. Thank you.
Very much. I want to commiserate with Sowore also. May God grant him the fortitude to bear the huge loss. For me, I want to, generally speaking, on a global stage, there is this rollback of democracy globally. And it's not just a Nigerian thing. Even in the US, Rudolph here in the US, I know there are conversations around the issue of state capture, if I may use that word, where corporate institutions have so much control over the states. The Dr. Henny that I spoke the other time, he just spoke the same language of where he sees Dangote as Nigeria, because for him and his ilk, they believe that Dangote is Nigeria. So you can see a statement, a press statement that says Nigeria exported 10 tons of cement this year. That Nigeria is actually Dangote exported that amount of cement, but they are equating the interests of these corporate elites, the ruling elite for Nigeria. So when he's saying you are demarketing Nigeria, it's because he's not saying Nigerians, he's saying this ruling class. And it's not a Nigerian thing, it's a global thing. So what I'm asking is, because it's not, there's also another mistake where people say, Sowore, how will you carry out this revolution? The revolution is not about Sowore carrying out the revolution. It's all about us saying we are tired of this. I think, how do we put this thing across? One, the executives have failed, they are not delivering to the people. The lawmakers have failed, they are not delivering to the people. And the courts too has failed. Because you can see that where they can arrest someone, go to your house without court warrant and all that, and they will take people to the courts. And the courts will not question that process. Rather will say, go and bring shorty. So that means even the court will no longer deliver democracy to the people. So that means all the institutions of the states, they are failing. But they are not failing because they are incompetent. They are failing because they are programmed to fail. So I think, how do we, for me, if I may ask a question, Sowore cannot do it. We need to build the alliances. There will be disagreements. There will be all this. How do we bring these alliances so that everybody can come to the table and save the country? How do we tell people the right stories? Professor Falola, you're a lecturer. If you go to an average Nigerian university institution, they are highly undemocratic. They only prescribe student union. They don't want people to talk. How do you build people that can actually challenge the system where everywhere you turn to, you are being stepped upon? I think that's the, I don't know whether I should call it a comment or a question. Thank you.
Let's take it as a comment so that, okay, you want to answer, please go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted before Rudolph came on board, Prof. I wanted to thank the professor that spoke prior to Rudolph. I don't know his name. I think you know. I don't remember. Fantastic. You know, sometimes honestly, I'm humbled by suggestions and comments like that. I have nothing but respect for what he said. We have to build alliances. We have to do strategies, but also he should know that sometimes when these things are happening, they don't come to the surface for announcement. I'm not saying that we've done the kind of alliance or the kind of strategies that meets the standard of the side that he was advocating. Then going to Rudolph. Rudolph asked a very important question about the issue of the self-determination groups. I have never ruled out people having their own countries or seceding from Nigeria. I have been quoted severally saying that most Nigerians have mentally seceded from Nigeria. So it's not only IPOB or Yoruba or Igbo alone. But what I have consistently advocated was that maybe there is still value in taking on the behemoth or the political class that Mr. Durosimieti is talking about as a collective. That is the self-determination groups, the religious minority group, even sexual minority groups in the country who are all oppressed women could come together and overthrow this system of oppression. Instead of helping them to break up the problem into smaller units where they can still go and crush you. What I said to some of them are coming to pass. I said, first of all, demolish the federal security agencies before you go and create your own countries, if we need to go there. They said, no, we'll just go and create our own countries, and the federal security agencies followed them. Not only to their various enclaves, they followed my friend Kanu to Kenya, abducted him, and brought him back to Nigeria. He's chilling in a federal facility that he wanted to demolish. But what was my advice to him in 2019 before, and I'm not mocking him, he remains my friend. I go to court on his behalf. I was almost killed during his last court hearing. And I'll keep going back to court because I have a default position on issue of justice. What happened to him? They brought him back to the same federal court, they brought him back to the same DSS court, they brought him back. Whereas if perhaps, peradventure, he had accepted the alliance or the stretching of hand that that I gave in 2019, and we had all worked together and taken down a DSS that's a behemoth that can go to anywhere in the world to go and abduct human beings and bring them here, and created a condition that is discussing at this point a new constitution, new election, a referendum, and including all these great things, items in the constitution. Perhaps it will be easier for you to leave. Now you want to leave, but you are stuck in Hotel California. The building you are describing, Bruder, is Hotel California. You check in, you check out, but you can't leave. That is Nigeria as it is today. Until you fire the manager of Hotel California and they shut down that hotel first, you can't leave, even when you check in and you are checked out. That's what Nigeria is. Igboho wants Yoruba nation, but Hotel California staff went to his section of the hotel, shut up his house, killed 2 people there, and abducted everything they found in his house, including cats. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying, Sowore is saying, hey, sir, should we have done the first job of cleaning up the hotel, shutting it down first? I mean, firing the manager of the hotel, and then we can decide when we check out, when we leave, because we paid our bills. But Hotel California didn't let you leave. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm using this analogy. It's a song, it's popular in the US. Hotel California, you check in, you check out, but you can't leave. That is what Nigeria is. And until you break the backbone of the management of Hotel California, sir, you are wasting your time. And it has come to pass. Now, everybody that is asking for self-determination has ended up in detention. They are appearing before Hotel California judges. They won't let them leave. Igboho cannot come back to Nigeria. They cannot leave Benin Republic. Even our leader, the Yoruba leader of today, Professor Banji, had to run out of Nigeria. He's now in Benin Republic. So, but had we taken this next step, had we taken the step that I advocated in 2019 for a revolution, which would have been easy to do with the coming together of the Kano, the Shiites, myself, and the Yoruba self-determination movement, calling for a revolution, by now, probably everybody would have been able to go home if they wanted. But I doubt that we'll be going home because this space also has economic value. And don't forget, Rudolph, I've discussed this with you before, that, which is my own little theory, it's not foolproof, that the way Nigeria is composed today, if Nigeria is divided into 6 regions, or there are countries around it, without addressing the inequalities that brought Nigeria to a historic state, every other enclave created from Nigeria will be overwhelmed by the poverty of the former Nigeria. In addition to the fact that you will also go to your new homes with rats, and they will eat up the foundation, the termites to your new nation. We also eat up the foundation. This is my own little theory. Because me, who used to be the father, I am now being asked to voluntarily strategy and conversations about how we can unite. How can we unite? How can you unite with Yorubas? But having issues with this emerging group in the north. Over these years are also fighting. Can that so many of the new states, I don't have a crystal ball regarding the future. What do we do? I'm saying I want to apply for here in Abuja. I'll just find my way. Catch me there. I mean, Nigerians we move to Biafra, but of Nigerians who want to move electricity, whereas everything is just like everybody will be heading to Biafra. fabled the crippled body was looking for gold. 99% don't see a dust of gold. Started because people just that's why I'm very, very critical of some acceptance of the theory that and prosperity. That's why.
Ola, Kole Odutola, please. Kole Odutola, please unmute him.
Thank you very much, sir, for the. Please, like everybody has said, I like and the condolences and deep sympathy. My question is very simple. The name Julius, what would it really be like if Baba Aye, the spiritual meeting with Julius, some kind of conversation with a sepulcher in Nigeria? Somebody told me once, and I have not been able to chew gum. So I'm just one of a meeting between the advisor in the name of Baba Malema, because every time I see with the history of South Africa, which I know, I see an Omoyele Sowore. I see the articulation, truth to power. And yet Africa is forefathers and all the ancestors, African movement are all wondering. And my question is this, but if you have not, what the meeting, how South Africa's Julius Malema and advisors meet with an to strategize for a part of some kind of effect on. Thank you very much, sir.
Let me say it can postpone. That will allow me to your turn. Please unmute Sandra. Yes, ma'am. Can you unmute Sandra, please?
Yeah,
we
thank
can.
you.
Go ahead.
I'd like to Omoyele. At the same time, I have a few questions. Being an able here in America, the 1800s, that in order for the diaspora, Africa must first, and having been in one of my lineage to return our felony. My question to Omoyele Sowore even Pan-Africanism. Is it? Or from, my last trip, Igbos, Hausa, all of the ethnic groups in Nigeria as one people. Is the brother that spoke before me worry? Sit down. Well, doc, and there's, I can't think of his name, because it comes together. We have America currency, all dependent upon Africa. Bible. I look at now someone of Sowore who's capable of. My question to him, Omoyele, all these ethnic groups together, how can come together to bring it all together? And I'll thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kweko Mbako. Kweko Mbako.
Prof, can I just intervene quickly before next? Yeah, I just wanted to let you understand that the lady that just a popular Nigerian. She was the one. She's actually Sandra Ishidera. To
I believe that the movement reaches out to many sectors and lifestyles. My question is, how do you think this movement can affect the sporting industry, and how could it play its part?
Probably, I take a cue from you before answering questions. That's why you say I wait for you.
Okay. 2 sentences, please. 2 sentences. Go ahead, please.
Ooh, this is kind of not, I can't hear you now.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
I said 2 sentences.
Yes. Maybe I should just take the last 3 comments, from.
We'll be very brief because we still have 16 people.
Yes. You might need to bring me back to the 16 people because I have my family on my neck regarding burial arrangements.
Okay, we will stop very shortly, but go ahead.
Yes. So
let's stop in 30 minutes.
Okay. So the last question about sports and how we can bring it to bear. I think it's a very important question. It's one of the most overlooked questions around the issue of mobilizing youth in Nigeria. You know, sports is so important, you know, and even in the struggle for racial equality in America and the USA, sports people played a very important role. And we must, as a necessity, get into that arena and use it as a mobilizing factor, you know, a tool. We must also get to make sure that our sports people are conscious in such a way that they should just not act as if they are apolitical. There was a controversial video recently, very quickly, Prof, of a guy who walked into a group of girls who were Nigerian representatives training somewhere in Austria. And she's saying, how can you be representing a country led by terrorists? The thing went viral, you know, but Nigerians were divided over it. Some said, why would the guy go and harass all these young girls? He, in my view, did not harass them. He delivered a very important message that, look, we can also use force to fight our oppressors. You know, you can boycott some of these international events if they don't align with, you know, the interests of the generality of the masses of our people. So I just want to align with you and I agree with you. With regards to what Sandra said about bringing Africans together, it's been our position. Our movement, our party is a Pan-African movement, it's a Pan-African party. It's part of the reason why I am not a big fan of you know, secession. Because I believe that the entire African continent should be a country. You know, but that's my personal opinion, but it's also our movement's opinion that we should bring all Africans together to become one powerful force. As to the question about meeting Malema, I'll be glad to meet him whenever he's available and ready. Not only Malema, we need to meet a lot of, you know, African activists who are fighting dictatorship in the various parts of the world. Because one, we come together on an Pan-African platform, like the Pan-African activists did in the independence days, the better for and the faster we get to end this game of oppression by our Black internal colonizers.
Thank you. Let me apologize that we've been here for 4 hours and you wanted this to be brief, thinking it would 1.5 hours. So I will not be able to take everyone. If in one way or the other, your question has been posed, the comment you have in mind has been made, there's no point to repeat them. So a few people can drop out and they can take, and I'm glad some people are already dropping out, so that we can take people. Let me take Bukola Oyeni Bukola, please. Go ahead. Are you there? Are you there? He's talking. Oyeni Bukola. Can you unmute him? Stephen Ogunshola, can you unmute him? Okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead. Stephen, go ahead.
Hello, good evening, all. Omoyele Sowore, I'm so glad to have you on the conversation tonight. I hope you can hear me very well. So I'm one of your lieutenants when you came on board to contest for the president of this country, Nigeria. I vehemently campaigned for you. Do you know they nicknamed me Sowore in my office, my former office now, because I have your posters pasted on my desk in my office. So, and I did what I think I can from my own little way to tell people around me so that they can understand why we need a young, vibrant, courageous man like you as the president of this country. So the election came and gone. We all see the outcome, like you have rightly said, that we don't have a good system in place that can guarantee us a free and fair election. So, but my point now is Nigerians are so divided, because I follow you on virtually on all your handles. So there is a particular section of this country that don't even want to hear you speak. And whenever you posted anything, either on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, so we discovered that there is a particular section of this country that they are just hell-bent. They just don't want to see whether what you are saying makes sense or not. So my question to you now is this: how are you going to, because you already have me as your candidate. So if you decide to take part in the next coming election, I'm still going to vote for you, and I will also canvass for vote for you. But what are you going to do to convince this set of people that are not really seeing what we are seeing? That is question number one. Question number two, I want a situation where I need you to sit down. We all love you. We know you meant well for this country. You left your family in the US. You came to Nigeria for the past 1 year. You've been in Abuja. You can't even move out of Abuja city. So we know that you are sacrificing a lot for this country. But I would also like a situation where you also think and look at it that what other techniques can you use to convince Nigeria that you are our dream, you are the answer we are looking for. We love you, we want you to, we need people like you to lead this country. So, and what I am saying now is, can we sit down and think of re-strategizing? Because I still believe that we can do it. We almost did it that 2019, just because we were unable to come together and form a unit voice. So that was why the old people were able to defeat us. But we can also go back to the drawing board and see what we can do this time around. That is my question for you, Omoyele Sowore. Thank you.
Let me take it as a comment, please, because we are running out of time. Prince Iwemade, please. Prince Iwemade. Go ahead. Please go ahead, Prince.
So I want to, my sincere condolence to our great brother, our great leader, our brother, Comrade Omoyele Sowore. I am the president of TIB in Sweden. We, the members of the TIB in Sweden, we are standing shoulder to shoulder with you, side by side. And during this trying period, we are with you. My question is, you came to Nigeria prior to 2019 to contest as the president of Nigeria. The election has come and gone. We all know the outcome. 2 years ago, you called for revolution now, prior to August 5th. You were arrested, detained, you spent 5 months. In all this, you left your comfort zone, United States. Very comfortable country for you. You left your family. I'm a family man. I'm a father of 6 children. You left your children behind and your lovely wife as well. You've been relegated to Abuja City alone for the last 1 year or so. In all this, do you have any regret of coming to Nigeria to contest in the first place? That's my question number 1. 2, do you believe in your heart of heart that Nigerians are worth dying for, or that Nigeria as a country is worth sacrificing all that you have sacrificed so far to make the country great for everybody? Thank you once again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Let's take that as a comment. Adetola Opanuga. Mr. Adetola Opanuga, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much. First of all, my sincere condolence to Yele. and especially to your mother. And I hope your family will be able to to bear the loss of your brother. You are an inspiration, really. And if I may add, and something that I think I've been missing amongst all of us who have been opportune to have been to university or to have studied, to have equipped our minds somehow with information abound beyond Nigeria, as well as what is inside. Something that I think is missing among all of us, right from the time we have Professor Ujobi, Baba Awolowo, Chief Gary Nifawemi, and my friend who just passed on recently, as well as Professor Mr. Falano, if you may allow me. What I think is missing among all of us is that we seem to be used to this biblical way of engagement, whereby we have someone who believes that he or she understands the problem. But we forget that this thing that is modern civilization of democracy is actually people driven. For what I think has been missing, we are just lucky to have people like you. You inspired me to actually get interested again in Nigeria when I had the time during the campaign of AAC to follow the YouTube trail of going to different parts of Nigeria. Now, talking to even close friends who we left university. I left university like before you. I was closer to that guy, Red Rum.
Yeah, Mayegun.
Yes, Mayegun. So, what I think is missing among all of us is that while we speak all this well-informed information of what should be, the Nigerian populace, they are far, far removed, both educated and non-educated, because of the fallback from the military dictatorship and all the problems that, all the brainwash that most of us have been brought up with. From biblical times, this king does this, he performs this magic and everything, that ignores the information of all the people that are actually supporting that king or whatever. They make it look at this, and these military dictators who think they are better positioned to dictate what the people want for us. Now, looking at all the things you did during the campaign and all the wealth of information and emancipation that is embodied in all the information in the values behind your campaign and what you stand for, most of the people who are even educated seem to be missing the point, that you are not saying that it is all about you, but you are trying to tell the world, the Nigerians, that this thing you are campaigning for is already in our brains. But how do the people who are supposed to be informed allow those who are uninformed in society, which are the uninformed are so great in numbers, to the extent that what I'm even saying, if you play it 1 million times, the uninformed will not understand. How do we communicate with these people? That is what I think is missing. It's not about, and we need revolution anyhow to make this happen, whether it's devolution, autonomy, whether it's Nigeria breaking up. But one thing we must remember, that the states we have today are so artificial. We are not America. We are not United States. United States is a conquered territory, probably headed during those times by warlords. We are people who are identified the way Chief Professor Tony Falola dressed. Media is seeing him, you will know who he is. Nigeria is not surrounded by this. There is a conflict now that we see that it seems this identity is being compromised somehow by the state, Nigerian state we have in. So what is it that we can all do as people to help you, Omoyele Sowore, in a way that whatever you are talking about, we can, people you are representing, who are Nigerians, Yoruba, Igbo, or anybody, are actually there as the people in front to support you to achieve whatever you are doing. Not you telling, because you've told them what they need. It seems people are not understanding what you are talking about.
Thank you. Thank you. We're grateful and honored. Let's take that as a comment.
Thank you very much.
His video has disappeared. Are you there? Sowore, are you there?
I'm here.
Can you put your video back?
Yes. Put him back on again.
Adam Mayor, please. Adam Mayor.
Can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you. Adam Mayor, please.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Adam Mayor, yes. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes.
Go ahead now.
Oh, thank you so much, comrade. Your spiritual advisor is a friend of mine, and that's.
You are lucky.
Yeah. May I express solidarity and condolences from Hungary? I'm calling from Eastern Europe. My question would be this: I admire your fight and your work. Where do you stand in relation to Marxism and the Marxist tradition in Nigeria and elsewhere? And also, how do you see Lenin's role? And what's your position on this? My question would be very short. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we do it? I can link the two of you together by email to save time. Thank you very much.
I would love to discuss that between me and you and my spiritual advisor, if you don't mind. I'm sure he can make it happen.
Yeah, I have the email of you. Prince Adeni, please.
Thank you very much.
Prince Adeni. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. My Omoyele Sowore. I'm reaching you from Portland, Oregon, in the United States. I love you so much. You are doing well. And my condolences for the loss of our brother, Olajide. You are doing well. But one thing, there are 3 things I want to quickly point out to. People should know that the movement is not Sowore. It's an idea. People should know that. There is an idea, and Sowore is there, people is there, and we are moving towards the future. And that future is peace, prosperity, as Sandra said, for the liberation of Africa and African people. The most painful thing that the African people, that is people of our colors, should realize is we are being forced into a corner. No matter how long you spend in any other part of the world, you will still be seen as an alien until you are back home in Africa. That is one thing. Then again, as the second to the last speaker said, we need to deliberately re-educate our people, because they are, no matter how you say it, they are hearing the wrong thing. They are saying you as, okay, this is against them. Oh, it's because he traveled out, it's bad, and he wants to force himself upon us because he wants to become a leader. Therefore, no, you don't want him. We need to re-educate our people that they can hear it, they can see what they are missing by following these thieves. We need to break our system down into the system. Like I love what Stephen said, Ogushola. We need to get people at the grassroots level who will translate it in their local language. I think that we can go from down up. That will help us to achieve that. I think that's my comment.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you, sir. Mohammed Tal. You have been waiting for so long, Mohammed Tal. Go ahead. Mohammed.
Mohammed Tai.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Unmute yourself, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Mr. Sowore, my condolences to you. I had looked for the loss. I'm a Nigerian speaking from Malaysia. I have the opportunity to listen to you, and I'm interested in your topic or your struggle, revolution now. Revolution is a very important thing in the life of the society, provided it will bring about positive changes. But I have a problem. What type of revolution? Is it a socialist scientific revolution, a bourgeois revolution, or is it just a mere utopian revolution? This concept have not been said clearly, or maybe I have not come across that. Secondly, what I want to say is, I like the school of thought for revolution because Nigeria is ripe for that. But I am sick with this methodology, the approach. Revolution is about first educating those that matters. These are the masses, and including the petit bourgeoisie, those that may commit class suicide, just like you are trying to do. You need partners across the length and breadth of this country. There must be an handshake across the nation. If the people are not educated, like previous speakers have said, nobody's going to get you. You'll be speaking to yourself. You can continue to talk revolution, nobody will understand the meaning. You have to pull the wall of ethnicity, the wall of religious sentiment, the wall of regional sentiment. All these walls, you have to pull them and educate people that these things are nonsense. All these concepts are manipulative. They are not going to help anybody. Unless you do this, nobody's going to understand your message. You can only, your flock can only understand your voice when they recognize you. They recognize your voice and they know that you are really struggling for them. We cannot sit and say revolution. Revolution is not a tea party. We've talked about Nelson Mandela or the ANC and other, the Cuba revolution. You've seen how they have come up. So you need to have a kind of mobilization. You have to mobilize the people across the northern, eastern, southern. Everybody is yours. There's nothing like sentiment. Because the people that are suffering cut across Nigeria. They are in northern Nigeria, they are in eastern Nigeria, they are in southern Nigeria. These are where the masses are. And these people need leaders. These are people who are not educated, they are very much ignorant. A single issue of ethnicity can pull you down. So you need to educate the people on these very, very fundamental issues. So now my question is, if the people, if you feel the people understand you, do you think if your flock hears your voice, they will understand that you are their shepherd?
Thank you,
This is my contribution. Thank you very much.
I now want to invite Mr. Sowore to make his closing statements.
Yeah.
Yes, just your closing statements.
Okay. Now, my closing statement is that I want Mr. Sowore to look into those things I've mentioned. You should improve on them because it is a topic that we like. We want a revolution in this country. We want this country to be intact. I'm against the idea of balkanizing Nigeria. if Nigeria can unite as a united country with understanding, cutting across the ethnic and religious groups, that is what we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sowore, please make your closing statement.
Oh man, it's difficult to make one. I just have to thank everyone here tonight. I accept this on behalf of my family as an intellectual service for my younger brother who passed yesterday for no fault of his own. Casually snuffed out on a highway between Okada and Benin City. I really never thought that he will get this kind of honor. You know, this is a big honor to him. I also want to thank everyone who came to this and stood, waited to this moment, which has been several hours now. I want to thank Professor Tony Falola, who, you know, I've never met anybody who doesn't like you. So I think not many people like me. So you've been a great inspiration to a lot of people. Your humility, your intellect, and your ability to just break down very otherwise complex issues has endeared me to you. And I'm glad that we could make this happen regardless of the sad events of today. I mean, yesterday. To all the persons who dropped and the moderators, Motun, thank you so much. Professor Moses Oshonu, life friend and supporter. And when I mean supporter, they supported me, you know, in ways that most people don't even know. Most people didn't know that he's one of the people who, in the early days of Sahara Brothers, is there offering advice, support, and energizing me. Thank you so much for today. Let me just say that what I came to understand after this long session is that it's now, in my view, and convincingly so, a general consensus that what was alien to a lot of people in Nigeria in 2019 when we started a call for a revolution has now become naturalized in the hearts of the people. Where we need to work on is not convincing people, but explaining the nuggets to people and working with a broad variety of allies to make it a possibility or to hasten the process of a revolutionary change in our country. I didn't hear too many people, except one person, Dr. Enna, and I appreciate and respect your your position today. We must accommodate everybody. Except him, everybody is in alignment and agreement with the need to just have a revolution in this country. But people are asking great questions. People are asking how, when, what is the nature and character of this revolution. And the last speaker was asking, you know, is it going to be a socialist revolution? Is it going to be a bourgeois revolution? And what I'll say to you is people's revolution. The people of the entity known as Nigeria today are the ones revolting against the oppressors. And I want to be humble by saying that when the revolution is over, we must also democratically allow the people to determine what to define the outcome of the revolution, not to be too hasty to say, well, we're going to make it, socialist. That would be my personal opinion. What if they want a different kind of identity for their revolution? They're entitled to it. People have asked several questions about Constitution. I did the best I can, considering my circumstances today, to answer all these questions, and I hope you accept, the ones that were clear to you, and that you respect the, my limitations as well. I don't know all the answers to every problem, and like a friend of mine said, I think it was Drew Simeon, one of the last speakers, saying, "This is not about Sowore. If it's about me, all they need to do is to take me out, and everything will be over. It's about every one of us. We have lasted and lounged too long in this wilderness of oppression and enslavement by our leaders. And it is time to liberate ourselves. The time for emancipation is now. And I call on all of you to drop whatever you're doing, drop all sentiments, drop your bigotry, your ethnicity. Let's unite as one people and defeat our common enemies and restore our common dignity as a people. And just take it from there. I guarantee you that if we do this and we have the right leaders put in position of authority and power and administration in this country, we would just be happy people. So on that note, Prof, let me just say thank you to everyone, and let me use the opportunity to wish my younger brother good night again and thank him for coming our way. He was an amazing guy. He left with a big bang. I'm sure if there's life after death, he must be very happy. He of all my brothers is the least political. He didn't hug limelight like the rest of us. Although he had partisan inclinations, but he was more on my side. And if you could look back today and discover that he's dead, common occurrence in Nigeria all across, made headlines across the world, I'm sure he'll be proud. That's all I can say. I'm overcome by this, and I appreciate all of you for your support. If anything at all, contrary to what you see on my page and Facebook page of trolls, and I witnessed pure love, that I never thought existed during this period, and I really appreciate that. It's encouragement and inspiration. Thank you first.
Thank you so much. Let me apologize most sincerely to the 8 participants who have questions and comments, but time does not allow me to let them pose. I sincerely apologize. I promise you, if you send me the questions by email, I will forward the questions to Mr. Sowore. And we can have small conversation by WhatsApp and other media. If you are so keen on those comments and you want to pass them along, I can assure you that they will get to him. I want to call on Professor Ibirunke, a Nigerian literary scholar who's done work on Achebe, Shoenka, and others, to give the vote of thanks to all our guests. Professor Ibirunke, please. Professor, are you there? Please go ahead, unmute him. This is him.
I'm still here, but it's just my camera.
Please unmute him, please. Go ahead. Unmute him. Unmute yourself, please, sir. Unmute yourself. Shagun.
Oh, hello, Professor.
Obina.
Yes, Professor. Sorry, I think we're having some technical issues.
You're doing what?
Oh no, sorry. Well, it's. I think it's working now.
Talk, Professor Bironke. Can you talk? Can you unmute yourself, sir? Unmute yourself. It's not from our end. Obina.
Yes,
okay.
Professor.
All right. So I think it said the host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves. So, well, let me thank Professor Falola for the honor of thanking Omoyele Sowore and the participants of this very, great event. I'll start by mentioning someone that we probably did not have the time and space to talk about. About 2 years ago, I was listening to the National Public Radio, and someone was being interviewed. And it happened to be the wife of Yele Sowore, and she was expressing a lot of hope that he was going to be released from prison and that he was going to be back in the United States in December of 2019, early enough for Christmas. And here we are, almost 2 years later. I wonder how she is holding up. And I wonder how your family is holding up. And I say that because I have just been to Nigeria myself and I spent 2 months. And I know the amount of pressure that my family was putting on me to return just within 2 months. So I very much appreciate your personal sacrifice. People have been mentioning this, that you left the comfort of New York and you've shown extraordinary courage in stepping out and stepping forward to the very front lines of the political fight for the emancipation of the people. This is, for me, the mark of a true leader. In other words, you have demonstrated that you are worthy of leadership of the people. So I wanted to thank you very much for that. And as for the death of your brother, you have turned the occasion of his death into a moment in which you've expressed hope for the country and for the nation. So this is extraordinary. This is wonderful. You've held up very well, under about 5 hours of rigorous exchange and conversation. You've shown your ideas, your competence, and the side of you that I did not know before was the witty and humor, the wit and humor with which you took some of the questions. You were calm, under those circumstances. All of that, I think, personal qualities that I appreciate very much about you. And I also come to discover in the space of this conversation that you are not an ideologue. You are not the old leftist, radical. That you are just passionate about practical, positive change in the lives of the people. And you call that change revolution. And I agree with you that there has to be a passing of the baton to a new generation of leaders. And that itself is a revolution that we deserve. And that the likes of Sowore, the likes of Malema should be allowed to take up the mantle of leadership. So we know what a man is made of in a time of crisis, and what you've done today in taking on this interview has shown what you're made of. So I have nothing but great admiration for you, for your cause, for your courage. And I have to also thank Professor Falala for creating this platform that brings us together and takes up some of the hottest issues of the day. It is not afraid to take on any of these issues, and guest after guest is one big issue after the other. So I really appreciate that. And I thank him for putting his considerable prestige and reputation and intellectual resources to the support of your cause. I also want to thank the interlocutors who have kind of joined issues with you today. Faborode, Moratunyo Alaka, and Moses Ochono, for lifting and elevating the conversation with their questions. I thank also all of the participants who have asked questions. And I have to end by just a little piece of my own comment, which is that a friend and I were kind of talking about a speech that MKO Abiola gave sometime in '93. And it was so rich, it was so insightful. And the question was, oh, was Abiola an intellectual? Of course he was not. But he had a big and diverse think tank of intellectuals that he was working with. Some of the topmost intellectuals of Africa at the time, he was very close with them. And I want to encourage you also to broaden the base of your intellectual cohort. I know you have a lot of intellectuals like Shono and so on who are working with you, but I think that will sharpen and deepen the strategies and the ideas themselves. So I thank everyone for waiting 5 hours. Once again, this is a Sunday, so whatever is left of the weekend, please enjoy it.